Hey, hey, I am here and you are there. Anyway, I am Mary, your love and forgiveness coach. I help women who have struggled with depression thrive in life after depression, as well as so that they can build healthy relationships with themselves, God, and others. I'm here today to share with you what got me started in coaching. And it's kind of a long story. However, I'm not going to take long. I'm going to get right to the point. And what started me in coaching is, number one, I had no idea what depression was. No idea what depression was. On Thursday, December 23rd, 2004, I just knew that I was really sad and had been, and I didn't want to be here anymore. I felt like my family and friends and everyone would be better off without me being here. Mind you, I grew up in the church. And I still go to church. But like I said, I didn't know what depression was. I felt like crap. Internally. Externally, no one really knew that I was struggling with anything at all. And that night, December 23rd, 2004, I attempted to take my life. And I didn't write, like they say, but like a lot of people who struggle with depression and are attempting to, decide, they write letters, to their loved ones and everything. I didn't do that. I spoke my goodbyes. And I spoke my goodbyes literally in a closet by myself. And there was no one there but me. Like I said, by myself. And I, took some things and drank some things, and I asked God to take me out of it. And I went to sleep. I woke up Friday, December 24th, 2004. And when I woke up, I figured that God, I knew that God was saying, that's not happening. I'm not taking you anywhere. I have a purpose for you. You may not know what it is, but we're going to get you to the point where you will know exactly what your purpose is. So that Christmas, which was that Saturday, I was with my family, but I was debating on whether or not I wanted to talk with anyone. The great thing that I can say is that I have an aunt who is a social worker, and I talked to her and I told her what I did. And that night she took me to the hospital to get me, some help. And they wanted to keep me for like 3 days, but we came to, the conclusion that it would be better for me to just go home. And when I went home, my grandmother was there, my aunts were there, and no one really knows this, in my family, but I had a conversation with my grandmother. Whew. I'm going to tell you right now, because I'm going to be here, and you're going to be here. My grandmother is my favorite person in the world. My grandmother passed away November the 26th, 2018. I'm named after her, which is a great thing and a blessing. But, like I said, back to that Christmas night, the morning of the 26th. I had a conversation with my grandmother, and my grandmother told me that I need to go back to church. I need to stay in church. I need to go to therapy. And she prayed with me. She prayed over me that night, with that night / morning. And that really helped me a lot. Like I said, I did not know what depression was. So I found out abruptly, you know, through my own experience. So I went to church. My aunt got me into therapy, and I went to therapy. I have a big family. Anybody that knows me, really knows me, knows that I have a huge family. And my tears are tears of joy because I came back from that. Not by myself, but I came back from where I was. I literally hated myself. I did not like myself. I did not love myself. But like I said, no one knew this. And I didn't know what depression was. So I didn't know that it was, even something wrong. I thought that, you hear so many people talking so negatively, not only about themselves, but about others. So you think that that's kind of the norm. You know what I'm saying? So I thought that it was the norm to talk bad about yourself, not only to others, but to yourself. That just sounds crazy to me now, because so many people literally do this, and it irks my nerve. My favorite scripture that I completely continue to repeat, not only to myself, but to others, is life and death is in the power of the tongue. Life and death is in the power of the tongue. So you can speak life over yourself, or you can speak death over yourself. You can speak life over others, or you can speak death over others. It's up to you. And like I said, I went to church. I went to therapy. And the therapist, first thing, gave me a prescription for Zoloft. I was working at the time. I was working at a temp agency. And I was working at in an office as a receptionist. And I was taking the Zoloft, and I found myself, the good thing is the office that I was working at, it was not a lot of people that actually came into the office. Excuse me. It was not a lot of people that came into the office. But I noticed that I was dragging a lot after, taking the Zoloft. And hello, Posh and Click. Thank you for joining me. Like I said, I was noticed that I was, getting really slow, and I didn't know what it was. And then I caught myself one day, and I was falling asleep at my desk. And what woke me up was the phone ringing. Again, I'm a receptionist. I'm literally sitting in the front of the office. You cannot fall asleep in the front of the office. That makes no sense. So, being, like I said, I grew up in church. So, talked to God. I prayed. I'm like, Lord, what's going on? Help me out here. I can't be falling asleep at work. That's a quick way to get fired from your job, is to be falling asleep at work. So, that night, well, not really that night, but one night after I, had that conversation with God, and I asked him, help me out. He told me to talk to my therapist and ask her if I could get off of the prescription. And just for 30 days. Just for 30 days. I wasn't taking it that long. So it wasn't, hard for me to stop taking it. So she agreed to give me 30 days. In that 30 days, Lord, in that 30 days, the Lord had me praying every day. He didn't have me fasting because I wasn't, prepped for fasting like that. But he had me talking to him every day. He had me journaling every day. And I went back, I was still going to therapy. But after the 30 days, I went back to therapy, and my therapist was basically like, you're like night and day. What have you been doing? And I told her that I just been praying and journaling. I just been having, talking to God and journaling. And during that time, God let me know that He didn't let me take myself out because He had a purpose for me. He has something that I have to do, but I can't do it until I get to the point where I love me. So when He had me praying and He had me journaling, He had me writing down how He loves me, what He loves about me. And with that, I, started to, feel that for myself. And it took me a long time to get that. But what He also had me do is write down a plan for me to overcome depression. What? What do you mean write down a plan to overcome depression? From what I'm hearing, you need to take medicine all your life, which is fine. Some people need to. But that's not what He had. So, take the medicine, and that's what you do. You could just cope with depression. I mean, He had me doing research on depression. And then not only from there, He had me write, like I said, He had me write down the plan for me to overcome depression. Sin City, formerly known as Harlem's One, thank you for joining me. And I wrote down that plan, and I worked with God. I worked with my therapist. I worked with God. I worked with my therapist, and I worked with God. I worked with God more than I worked with my therapist. And from there, I started to, love myself. I started to get to know who Mary was. And I didn't get to know who I was on my own terms. I got to know who I was in God's eyes. So from there, and I, kept working with God. I bought, I don't know how many books. Lots of books. Read lots of books. Let me see. I'm trying to think. A lot of people don't like them, but I'm cool with them. Joel Osteen. I started to listen to, what is it? Today's Word, I believe it is. I haven't read it in a long time, but I believe it's like Today's Word. Is from the Bible app, the YouVersion Bible app. There was or maybe it still is, plan in there from Joel Osteen Ministries, and I listened to that every day, multiple times a day. I was listening to it because he spoke life and he spoke hope into you, and that helped me a lot. And then I got to the point where I really, I started to like myself, and then I started to love myself, and then it's like, okay, I think I can do this. I don't have no other choice. Like I said, well, I didn't say that, but what I also did is I made a promise to God that I would never, ever attempt to hurt myself again. That right there. It's one thing to make a promise to yourself. You can make a promise to yourself and you can break that promise to yourself. But when you make a promise to God, you cannot break that promise to God. That's a promise that can't be broken. So I had no other way to go. It's either I keep my promise to God or I find out what happens when you don't. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to ever find out what happens when you don't keep your promise to God. So I'm still here. Oh, okay, let me think. Like I said, I was work with God, talk to God. At some point, it was my relationship with my therapist ended, and I stopped going to her. But I wasn't, done working on me, and I overcame depression. And once I got to that point where I was in the realm of loving who I am, God had me write down another plan. And that plan was thriving after depression. That plan is the same plan that I'm still on right now. My first plan was focused on my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health, and mastering who I am. I've mastered who I am. I'm in love with who I am. I'm in love with the woman that I'm growing into, and I don't even know her yet. She know me, but I don't know her. So from there, like I said, I wrote down the plan, thriving after depression. What is that? That looks different for everybody. For me, thriving after depression is staying mentally, spiritually, and emotionally healthy. Also, being physically healthy. I am considered to be morbidly obese. Well, obese right now. But I'm working on my physical health. Financial health. I've learned a lot about finances. I'm still working on my finances, and that like everything else is an ongoing thing. Education. I didn't love to learn before I learned myself. Now I love to learn. So that's something that, I keep doing, and I'm learning a lot. Have learned a lot, but still learning a lot. And that is what started me in coaching. The Lord let me know that it is my purpose to help other women to overcome depression as a coach, not to be their therapist. Because with therapy, they help you to deal with what was going on before and what got you into depression. But to help them alongside therapy to go from where they are right now to where it is they want to be. To fall head over heels in love with the woman that God created them to be. Which is literally. However, if you've been on my page for a while, you've seen my messaging change a bit, because I found out that legally I cannot say that I help women overcome depression. So I had to switch over a little bit. I help women thrive after depression. Women who have struggled with depression, I help them thrive after depression. And that's something that I can say. Legally, I can say that. Because that's what I do. That's what I've been doing. I've been thriving in my life after depression. It may not look like it to some people, because everybody, like I said, everybody's definition of thriving is a bit different. So for me, my definition of thriving is mind, body, and soul. Mind, body, and spirit. And my mind and my spirit are thriving. My body is still in the process of being thriving. Well, in the process of thriving. But we all have things that we got to work on, regardless. So that's what got me into coaching. Going from hating myself to being head over heels in love with who I am. And I know that if I can come back from literally hating myself to the point where I tried to take myself out, to falling head over heels in love with myself. Granted, it's been a lengthy time, because I'm a bit stubborn sometimes. And I had to learn lessons over and over again. But I also I had a coach, God, and that was the main coach. But I had a lot of unofficial coaches that I subscribe to. And, listening to them and reading their books and, answering those hard questions that have to be answered, has me where I am right now. And has me to the point where I can say that I can help you thrive in life after depression. I am in the process of editing my first book that will be out soon enough. I'm not going to say when because I don't know when. However, whenever it is about to drop, I will let you all know. And that book's title is Falling Head Over Heels in Love with the Woman God Created You to Be. And I have a few other things that I have been working on, and soon I will be presenting them and presenting the opportunity for women to work with me, so that you can also thrive after depression, because there's nothing better than to be in love with yourself. I know a lot of people don't speak in Christians don't speak about loving yourself. However, from what I've learned in my time with God is this: if you love yourself, there is no way for you to love others. You cannot pour into anybody if your cup is empty. There is no way for you to pour into somebody else if your cup is empty. No way at all. Because you'll burn out, you'll get resentful, and that's not a good place to be. So, stick with me, and I don't even know how long I've been on here, but I've been on here for a little while. But anyway, I am about to take myself to bed, but I'll be back tomorrow to share a little bit more live with you. So get used to seeing me live, because we're gonna be here and we're gonna be doing this, and it's gonna be us. It's gonna be us. So hey, CSS Nelly, thank you for joining me. I am about to get up off of here, but be happy when you watch the replay, because things have changed, are changing, and will change in everybody's life, not just mine. But thank you for joining me. Love you. Okay. Alrighty. Have a good night. Love you, nails.